Mindscapes, a series of conversations with men and women whose ideas, visions and philosophy define contemporary India. My guest today is one of India's most legendary and cerebral filmmakers. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Mrinal Sen. Mrinal, welcome to the program. You haven't been working on a film for some time. What does a filmmaker do when he's not working on film?
Well, loafing about, primarily loafing about, and reading, attending seminars to get myself doubly confused, and in the process, when in a seminar I confuse others, and planning productions, mostly abortive. But this time I'm pretty certain that I'm going to make a film.
What is the film about?
Well, this is something which I am not going to tell you at the moment. When a writer wants to write something, does he say this is what I am going to do? And only in cinema I see that these film people, they keep on talking before they start making it.
Does it sort of does it hurt you? Does it bother you if you're watching the premiere screening of your own film and somebody coughs or shuffles and isn't concentrating as intensely as you would expect them to? Or dare say someone walks out of the hall to go to the loo. Or if someone walks out of the hall to go to the loo, does it sort of bother you, concern you? That
Well, you feel a sort of, when you release your film, on the first day, for instance, premiere, as you said, and it is very easy. Whenever I go to a premiere show, I can immediately feel who is the director of the film, because the most unsmart man in the whole crowd will be the director, for the simple reason that he doesn't know what is going to happen to him, and he keeps on, he's very tense, tries to be very smart, and smartness, it shows that he is making every effort in spite of himself to be very smart and to create an effect, create an impression that, oh, nothing has happened to me. If the film fails, okay, it will. If the film doesn't, okay, I will be happy. That's okay.
So what are the distinctive qualities or talents that a filmmaker must have?
This is the challenge. This is the challenge. You do your kind of thing. And I don't believe in this kind of thinking about trying to understand the viewer's impression or his viewer certain demands. I don't do that. When I made films which eventually became very popular, I didn't think of the people. I thought of myself. I thought this is a very interesting idea. Let me go through it and let us break new grounds. This is very important. This is a big challenge, walking into an alien area.
In your work, you have sort of frequently, more than most other Indian filmmakers, or perhaps any other filmmaker,
they have also done
experimented with form and structure, and you have been playing with that.
Yes, form and structure are very important, but these are not everything. You have to see how you can get these together, your idea, on which you are making the film, and then how you are putting the idea, how you are presenting the idea in terms of cinema. Both the two things are very important, and keep on taking chances, and try to cross the barriers, whichever were there. They try to expand the area of operation.
So what kind of barriers? The barriers to communication?
Barriers are created by the filmmakers themselves. Barriers are created by the filmmakers themselves. They feel that this is what you have to do. So I tell you one thing. I made a film which accidentally became an artistic success, according to the people, and which also accidentally became a money spinner. That was Bhuvan Sham. And this was considered by the people to be, a film off the beaten track.
And a landmark film.
They felt so. Well, I wouldn't say it. But when we made it, we already decided we were convinced that the film will not run for more than a day. But it did enormously. And then number of producers came to me, very big producers from Bombay came to Calcutta. I remember 3 of them. They came to Calcutta at the same time. They were staying in big hotels. They waited for me. And they wanted me to make films like Bhuvan Shah. I said, what do you do? I can't do that kind of film. I don't know what I will be doing. I will allow me to make my kind of films. When I was making this film, it was hardly, I had to wait 10 years to convince any producer to put in money for this film. And for Bhuvan Shah, I didn't get anybody. Then finally, what did I do? I applied to the FFC, Film Finance Corporation, asked for 1,50,000 rupees, and I made the film.
So you made Bhuvan Shah at 1,50,000.
Year 1969.
And what budget are you looking at for your next film?
Don't ask me about it. But that was the time when I made, it was because that was a big challenge. That was a big challenge. And I felt that this is what we should do. We should be very austere. Austerity is very important. This is what I said before. So I'm glad that I'm not contradicting myself, what I said to you about a year ago, which I quite often do. But then, now if I make a film, I don't know, I keep to it. I try to see that that the films do not cost more. And it is always the establishment which is trying to impress upon the people that filmmaking is an expensive proposition, highly expensive proposition. It is our business, our job, nobody else's business. But we are here to say filmmaking is not as expensive as they think it is.
So how much would you spend on making an austere film?
If I make a film now, it should be averagely, it shouldn't be more than 30 lakhs. 30 lakhs. And at the most 40 lakhs. If somebody gives me 40 lakhs, I will be very happy. But if he wants to give me 50 lakhs, then I will be feeling a bit uncomfortable, because I do not know how to spend it.
Do you feel that the limitations of technology? You're someone who has worked a great deal with film form and structure. Do you feel that the access to contemporary and the latest in the technology of cinema has inhibited you?
No, not at all. Not at all. On the contrary, I look for the ever newer technologies to come. And for that matter, film is a continuously growing phenomenon. Continuously growing phenomenon, not only because of the fact that the ideas should be interesting, the ideas are there, ever newer ideas, and then also technologies are there. Technologies have been increasing at very rapid pace. But then what I think, in spite of the technologies, growth of technologies, what I feel in not only in Indian cinema, world over, that courage, conviction and creativity are very much in short supply. Very much in short supply, not only here, everywhere. There is lack of courage because they want to go by the same rule. For instance, the moment they said, the people felt that Bhuvan Shah has paid money and it is a new kind of film, you can make something new. So they want me to make another Bhuvan Shah. How can I do that? I am not a machine. And I have to make my kind of film. This is exactly how I made the other one, the previous one. I mean Bhuvan Shah.
In your search for cinema and new forms of expression, though deeply rooted in the ethos of Bengal, unlike most other filmmakers in Bengal, you did reach out to working in other languages and locating your films in other contexts.
I did.
What took this out? Was this the need to make films, or?
Well, a producer comes to me. Producer comes to me not because of it. I searched for the producer. When a producer comes to me and said that you make a film in Odia, for instance. Odia is a language, and we Bengalis, and Odia being a neighboring language, we used to look down on the language Odia. And so in our films, in Bengali films, in commercial, in the mainstream Bengali films, Oria's a character speaking Odia used to be a funny character. It was like that. And when a producer from Orissa came to me and said, you have to make a film. You do whatever you like, but the only condition I have to impose on you is to make the film in Odia. And I had an initial resistance. Being an incorruptible Bengali, I had an initial resistance. But then, when I went there, I spoke to the people and went to the villages. I could realize the music slowly. I could realize the music of the language. I started liking it very much. I wrote the script in Bengali, and I translated the script in English to my translator. And then, since Oriya and Bengali are very close to each other, language-wise, and so I didn't have to translate even. And I said, don't you go in for translation. Don't you go in for literal translation. Do something else. In a situation like this, what would you have done? And I'm always there to see how I will do it. And that was how it was done. I started, I felt that I could see the music, I could hear the music of the language, the rhythm of the language. And then I made the film. There was no problem. And the film was on poverty. Film was on poverty, and poverty doesn't have two cultures, two different stories to tell. It is the same thing. But then that was how I did. And then coming back after shooting, I told my wife, I wonder how is it that we escaped Oriya when we spoke love to each other. That was too much, but this is what I felt. And the same thing with the other one, Telugu, for instance. Telugu, I don't know a word. I can speak a word. And it was the same thing. A producer came that you do whatever you like, but it has to be made in Telugu language.
You have this, a reputation of a quality of surrender when you're on the set, of surrender when you're on the set. You don't rigidly stick to a script, or it's not entirely preconceived. You go there and you allow your feelings in the moment sometimes to dictate what happens.
Surrender is not the right word for it. I said a kind of interaction between the actor and the director. And then I say, go ahead with whatever you do. The director is not a dictator. He is not a dictator. You keep on giving your ideas. So this kind of interaction builds something new because of the chemistry that takes place. And this, I think, is very important. And I keep on doing what they say, a lot of things are there which are not in the script. A lot of things. In most of my films, 30 to 40%, at times even 60% are just done there on the location. When you go to the location, or when you are in the set, and in the proper atmosphere, and you have a lot of people around you, and your characters are moving, the characters become very exacting. And you become very creative as a film director. You become very creative, and you don't realize that you can think in terms of such things. And then I feel, what did I do? Whatever I did on my desk in my room, it is something. It doesn't go. It doesn't go with the characters. It doesn't go with the situations. So let us do it differently, in a similar way.
Are you sometimes surprised at what you see on the rushes?
I get a lot of surprises. Rushes are there. There are so many stages of film production, which is very important, which is very different from other arts. Once you do it, it's okay, final. Here, there are so many stages. With every stage, you get surprises. Or you feel terribly upset. This is also what happens. So I remember previously, one producer of mine told me, Mrinal, what do? You do the after shooting, we do a bit of shooting to make both ends meet. That part you do it first, because that takes longer time. You get my point? So for packing the film, and then you do the final film. So now what I am doing, I don't have to do like that, but I keep on doing experiments, going in for, you may call it experimenting on it, but this is what I have been doing. I keep on searching on things. And then when I write a script is a long way from the story. And then from the script to the filmmaking, which have different stages, it's a very, very long way.
Is the process also both exhilarating and torturous?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And why do you do it? What drives you and prompts you to make cinema if it's so torturous?
It's accident, pure and simple accident. I had never any interest in cinema as such, any particular interest in cinema as such. And when I was a student, I was not even a film goer, regular film goer. And then as a student of science, as a student of physics, I wanted to study sound recording. And I went to a sound studio to learn sound recording. I didn't like it much. Because I was interested in the mathematics of this sound, science of sound, not in other things. And then at that time when I was in a studio, never did I go to the floor to watch shooting. And then what happened, I used to read a lot, reading everything, without knowing how to shape myself. And then one day it so happened, instead of going in for fiction, instead of going in for a philosophical treatise, instead of going in for a biography or a play or poetry, I read one book on cinema. I just bumped into a book on cinema, on the aesthetics of cinema, written by a German writer. And I was floored, completely floored. And that was the beginning of my love affair with cinema.
Are you still interested in the technical aspects of cinema, like you were interested in the mathematical elements of sound? There is the whole technology of cinema. Is that something that still excites you?
Very much. For instance, think of Spielberg. I see as a man who has cinema at its fingertips. He knows the technology, latest of technology, and when I watch his films, I sit up and take very respectful note of the tremendous advances of science and technology which have been put into cinema. And that is I like it very much. I take very respectful note, but at the same time I am not very happy with his works because it is mostly on technological and it rests there. What I want is the aesthetic delight. That is one thing I think it lacks. Maybe my lack of understanding or somebody or his.
How important do you think it is for a film to have something to say?
You are saying something, whether you like it or not, you are saying something. Whenever you present something, you are trying to say something.
To what degree does that for you come from an ideological predisposition to, say, Marxism, for example?
Well, that started from the beginning, very beginning. But at times I feel now, with age and experience, I feel I need to have a destabilization exercise, because we were, not that I was born with a Marxist card in my hand. No, not that.
Do you have one now?
No, nothing. Not till now. I'm not a card-carrying member till now, not even. But that was the time in Bengal, you couldn't escape it, nor could I. So I was very close to the Marxist literature, Marxist way of life, Marxist politics and all. And then now what I feel is that something needs to be questioned. Because that was the time I feel, as I told you, I wouldn't say I have become wiser, but I have become more careful. And this is why I feel that a little bit of self-questioning is important.
So what aspects would you now question?
See, but you have to think primarily of man and his relationship with the society. And I find a lot of lapses, a lot of gaps in their thinking, in their activities. I find a lot of gaps.
You're now serving as a member of Parliament. What role do you see yourself in this pinnacle of the establishment, in a sense? You're a nominated member to the Rajya Sabha.
There also, I wouldn't say that I'm a regular visitor to Parliament, not that. I go there, I am not a parliamentarian that way. Neither a parliamentarian nor an activist that way. But then I feel amused at times. I have surprises, plenty of surprises at times. My first experience was that, allow me to say it, my first experience was, I was appalled by the cruel assault on the vocal cord of these people. But then there are microphones, switches and all. And then I could realize that, okay, microphones and the rods are used for some other purposes, maybe not for making speeches. It was like that. But then these are the surprises, these are the funny things which I collect from the Parliament, my Parliament stay. But then I don't stay there for a long time because I'm not involved that much. And but at certain times I feel very interested, and I am growing. I feel I am growing, and there are a few people who speak very well.
When you say you're growing, in what ways do you feel you're
growing? Means I feel that these are the lapses in me. I should know about this. Even at my age, there is no end to education. I educate myself in very many ways. How to present a case, how not to lose temper, how to keep cool, how not to get worked up and make your point very precisely, and this is something very important.
So what qualities would you like or you wish you had that you don't have?
Many things, many things. I don't think I'm a complete man. I don't think I'm a complete man. I'm very honest about it, by confessing. So I want to see what are my lapses. I know, deep down into me, I know the lapses which I have in me. And so this is how I try to correct myself.
What are some of the lapses?
Lapses, there is no end to lapses. There is no end to, because this is also something which you sort of discover. You discover your lapses. You also discover your
strengths.
What you have, the treasures you have. At times, when, for instance, when shooting, as you said, that I keep on improvising a lot. Improvising, before that, I didn't think about it. I just find it. Do that, and then I go to the editing room. I do something which I never thought of, and then what do? I go to my room. I close the door. I stand before the mirror, and I talk to the image of on the mirror, and I said, "So you were a genius. There is a streak of genius in you. How otherwise you could do it? You never thought of it. For the last 6 months, you have been thinking about a particular sequence, and you never did it. You wrote something else, but you did something very different from this. So there must be a streak of genius in you." This is what I say to myself. So these are the, it's a, it is so mystery, the whole thing, the human mind. You know about your lapses, you know about your treasures and everything. And these come out as you excavate. And for this excavation, you don't make any effort. It just comes to you.
Mrinal, thank you very much.
It is very easy. Whenever I go to a it is very premiere show. I can immediately feel who is the director of the film, because the most unsmart man in the whole crowd will be the director, for the simple reason that he doesn't know what is going to happen to him, and he keeps on, he's very tense, tries to be very smart, attending seminars to get myself doubly confused, and in the process, when in a seminar I confuse others, and planning productions, mostly abortive. But this time I'm pretty certain that I'm going to make a film.
What is the film about?
Well, this is something which I am not going to tell you at the moment. When a writer wants to write something, does he say this is what I am going to do? And only in cinema I see that these film people, they keep on talking before.
Hello and welcome to Mindscapes, a series of conversations with men and women whose ideas, visions and philosophy define contemporary India. My guest today is one of India's most legendary and cerebral filmmakers. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Mrinal Sen. Mrinal, welcome to the program. You haven't been working on a film for some time. What does a filmmaker do when he's not working on film?
Well, loafing about, primarily loafing about, and reading, they start making it.
Does it sort of does it hurt you? Does it bother you if you're watching a film, you're watching the premiere screening of your own film and somebody coughs or shuffles and isn't concentrating as intensely as you would expect them to, or dare say someone walks out of the hall to go to the loo, or if someone walks out of the hall to go to the loo, does it sort of bother you, concern you that?
Well, you feel a sort of, when you release your film on the first day, for instance, premiere, as you said, and